Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Color of Money is a 1986 drama film that was directed by Martin Scorsese and was released by Touchstone Pictures. The movie stars Paul Newman and Tom Cruise, with Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, Helen Shaver, and John Turturro in supporting roles. The storyline goes that pool hustler Fast Eddie Felson finds the young, promising pool player Vincent in a local bar, and he sees him as a younger version of himself. To try to make it as it was in old days, Eddie offers to teach Vincent how to be a pool hustler. After some hesitation, Vincent accepts and takes him and Vincent's girlfriend, Carmen, on a tour through the country to work the local pool halls. But Vincent's tendency to show off his massive amount of talent, and by doing so, warning off the players and losing money in the process, soon leads to a confrontation with Eddie. In the novel that the film is based on, Fast Eddie plays in a tournament against Minnesota Fats, who was played by Jackie Gleason in The Hustler from 1961. But Martin Scorsese wanted to take this film in another direction. Paul Newman and Gleason wanted Fats to return in the sequel, so that character was written into a new draft of the script. But Gleason felt that the character just didn't fit into the new story, and he declined to reprise his role in the film. When The Hustler came out in 1961, with Paul Newman as well, there was a dramatic increase in the sale of pool tables around that same time. The film apparently caused a popularizing of this sport. When this sequel was first released, the same thing occurred. They saw a dramatic leap of the sport of pool. When Paul Newman won the Best Actor Oscar for the picture, he and his wife Joanne Woodward became the first married couple to win his and her Oscars since that of Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier. Tom Cruise did his own trick shots in the film, with one exception, that one where he had to jump 2 balls to sink another. Scorsese said he could have let Cruise learn how to do the shot, but it would have taken an extra 2 days of practice, holding up the production and costing thousands of dollars to do it. The shot was instead performed by professional players. Many of the top pool players in the 1980s were part of the cast and crew, and they provided their assistance. The first pool hall, which Eddie, Vincent, and Carmen go to, is above the Lincoln Tap Room on the north side of Chicago. As of February 2015, the bar is still open, and it's now directly across the street from a Church of Scientology. They park in the location and walk past where the church is located now. It's a real strange coincidence, since Tom Cruise is closely associated with Scientology. While filming this movie, Cruise was called back to the set of Top Gun for some reshoots that they needed for that film. The scene they had to reshoot had him and Kelly McGillis in an elevator. Both Tom and Kelly had changed their appearance enough since the principal photography of that film that they had to find ways to disguise the changes. Kelly had her hair tightly tucked into a baseball cap, and Tom appears in a towel with wet hair. They had to wet Tom's hair down to try to match Maverick's navy haircut because he had grown it out to play Vince in this film. At one point in the movie, Eddie comments that it's been 25 years since he played. In real life, it had been 25 years since the movie The Hustler came out in 1961, where Newman had first played Fast Eddie. The voice that you hear at the beginning explaining Nine Ball to the viewers is that distinctive voice of the director Martin Scorsese. After the last shot of the Eddie Vince game at the tournament, Paul Newman had all the extras that were playing spectators stay in their seats. A few minutes later, a stack of Budweiser beer cases was brought in and shared with everybody. You see, Budweiser was Newman's sponsor for his Newman-Haas racing team. And it said that during production, on one weekend, Newman actually brought Tom Cruise to a car race to show him how to drive a high-speed car. The creators of an up-and-coming software company at that time were looking for a name for their revolutionary video game. Legendary game developers John Carmack and John Romero got their idea for the name of their game from the scene where Tom Cruise walks into the pool hall and is asked what's in the case that he's carrying. His answer was Doom. And that's what led to this popular video game's name. Now, Paul Newman is probably one of the most recognized actors from Hollywood. He stands out through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And about the time of this filming, he decided to collaborate with his friend, screenwriter Stuart Stern, on a memoir about his life. The two men ended up talking for about 5 years about Newman's childhood, career, fame, and family. During this time, he was doing a lot of soul searching. As time went on, in the early 90s, Newman and Stern were overwhelmed with the amount of material that came up in this process. Newman died in 2008, and Stern died in 2015. No one really knew what had happened to these thousands of pages of transcripts, and it had been rumored that they had been burnt in a bonfire. But that's not what happened to them at all. They were found in a family storage unit, and they've been compiled into a new book called The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man. These notes and the book paint a real candid picture of how tortured Paul Newman was at this time. He was plagued with self-doubt, and he reflects on a really possessive mother and an alcoholic father, and the fact that he was unbelievably insecure. He always felt anxious because he was scared about not being good enough. Who would have thought this? No matter what he thought of himself, you'll be hard-pressed to find a better actor during that same time frame that lived and worked in Hollywood. Take a look at this great Paul Newman film. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.